Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution.
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 You want a revolution?
You say you want a revolution?
Revolution. The revolution.
It's going on right now.
Welcome to The Revolution, the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we ask today's most successful entrepreneurs to share the tools and strategies they use to build relationships and connections to grow their revenue. Now, your host for The Revolution, John Corcoran.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host. And, every week I get to talk with smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs of all kinds of companies and organizations. Go check out our archive. We've got lots of great episodes with folks from Netflix and Kinko's and YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard, Lending Table, OpenTree, and many more. I'm also co-founder of Rise 25, where we help connect B2B business owners to their ideal prospects. And my guest today is Ashtan Moore. He's a partner and co-founder of Model B. It's a Washington, D.C. and Atlanta-based digital marketing agency that helps companies and entrepreneurs to increase sales, communicate with key audiences, and drive influence in the marketplace. He's also the co-founder and advisor to Ironclad Accounting and Finance, and a member of entrepreneurs organization EO Washington, D.C. chapter. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Rise 25 Media, where we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. Go check us out at rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. All right, Ashtan, happy to have you here today and to dig a bit into your story. And I want to start with a company that you founded about 5 or so years ago now. And you launched a company that was in the cannabis PR space, which unfortunately didn't work out. It was a bit of a learning experience, I guess. You eventually had to shut down the company. But take us back to that experience, particularly as you're winding up the company and you're realizing maybe some of the mistakes that were made along the way or missteps. What was going through your mind as you're having to wrap up this company?
John, do you ever wonder if maybe we contribute to, because I feel like every time I get on a podcast, we talk about something bad I've done. So are we maybe...
Yeah, well, as podcasters, we're bad story enablers, I guess. We just love that stuff,
Yeah,
get hooked on it.
I mean, I think every failure I've ever had is the only reason I'm good at anything. So, I mean,
we'll get to the good stuff. We'll get to the good stuff later. We just got to start with the bad stuff because it makes us feel better.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's related to companies and not my teenage years, I'm totally in for that.
Me either. Believe me, I don't want to delve into that either. So cannabis PR company, Nerve, it's called. Okay. All right. So
Nerve. I love Nerve. Nerve is a great company. I did. It failed though.
Yeah. What are some of the lessons from that then?
Well, we started off, so headcount was a problem. So as a young founder who doesn't really know how to build companies, you kind of get obsessed with the idea that having a lot of people working for you makes you successful. Or at least me. Maybe everybody else is smarter than me, but that's what I thought. I was like, okay, lots of people, I'm successful. But, also as a young founder, you don't really look at, gross revenue comparative to, the bottom line. And so that was, I think, one of our biggest missteps was that we always staffed way too far ahead. Now, I do believe in agency land, professional services land, you do need to staff ahead if you have a good pipeline, or any company and manufacturing. If you know you have a big order coming in, you got to make your things the same thing. But we did it without a great pipeline and also with a weak marketplace, very weak. We were charging at a price point where not only could the majority of our clients not afford us, or prospective clients that we were set up to service, there's also a really interesting part of this. I founded this company with a woman named Devin Richardson, who I call the queen of cannabis. She's still in the industry. Talked to her last week. She's amazing. But she would have to run around the country with a with her bag stuffed full of cash, because in cannabis, you can't wire money or write checks because you can't take dollars across state lines legally. So that was super dangerous. I mean, right?
Yeah. So you had so that's a small minor detail, having to get cash from your clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When they could pay us. And that was the other flip side. It was just, we got into the market, and this is something you always, I mean, now today I always look at, I say, who are we serving that we're providing value to? So they give us $1, they get $3 in value. It doesn't have to be three hard dollars. Like we're not a cash machine, but like, how does the company either, make $3 in marketing land or save $3 and accounting land for every dollar given to us? And I think it was just such a young market, and we were overburdened with our costs that we eventually had to shutter. When I say young market, I mean, it was like either Philip Morris or the cannabis startup, on the corner in your neighborhood. There wasn't, like, today, they're great. I mean, maybe I should call her and see if she wants to try it again.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you were starting this around 2017 time period. And can't remember when California, here in California, legalized marijuana. But, it was a kind of one state at a time, Colorado, Washington State. So I'm thinking that 2017 maybe was kind of still in the beginning of that trend.
Well, I can tell you that it wasn't legal in DC at the time, and it is now. Virginia, it's now, I think, a slap on the wrist. I mean, then it was like the Wild West, and everybody wanted to be a big company. And you just have to ask yourself, whenever I tell this to young founders, and I always say I need to change that word and stop using young. I mean, green or fresh founders. I'm like, this sounds like a great idea, but who's going to pay $1 million for this solution? That doesn't make sense. Like, who's even going to pay $1,000 for it? Like, you need to fit the value you're driving to what you're charging in terms of the money in the market. And we just didn't have enough people who could afford the rate that we needed to charge based on the number of people that we had in the company. And so eventually we had to, shut the doors. I think we were in it to win it for about 1.5 years. And we had a bunch of great clients. I actually looked the clients up the other day, and I could only find 1/3 of them are still solvent, which is representative of like the kind of what the market was like at the time.
Yeah. So, I've had a lot of guests on this show who had company failures, and sometimes the reason was because their efforts were divided. They had something else they were working on. So you also had Model B at the same time. Was that an impact because you had more than one company, or your efforts were divided?
I'm nodding yes, but I'm nodding in agreement of what you're saying. So I'm in a really unique position for most of the companies that I'm a part of, which is I have the blessing. I have the best job in the world. Most of the time, what I do is I'll bring the client in, help scope it, and there'll be a handoff. At Ironclad, I don't even help scope it. I just help to make people aware that the offering exists and that it's for entrepreneurs like me, because it's a very entrepreneur-focused bookkeeping company. Even at Model B today, I generally just scope and coach. So I'm a scoper and I'm a coacher. So I just spent today. I have a bunch of partners in A, from Model B. I have guys in from Atlanta, Virginia, Ohio. I spent 3 or 4 hours with them just talking through the bottlenecks in their company. Because I'm a co-founder with a great operational model of the organization, my role is really sitting down with the other folks who they're having bottlenecks with and helping them get those out of the way. So my what I do in the day-to-day is actually not arduous. So it allows me to bounce around a little bit and just make sure that we have the right connectivity.
Yeah.
And the example with Nerve directly is I was just doing the same thing for Nerve that I was doing for Model B. And a lot of that was scoping. And in some cases, the work would actually be divided between model being nerves. So I'm very careful about being in too many places at the same time. And I always start whenever I build a company with great operators, or I won't get after it. Like I know that I am not skillful at many things. What I'm great at doing is connecting people and helping connect a company to something that's going to help it grow. So that's really where I sit almost all the time.
Well, that's a valuable lesson. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that struggle with that idea of getting themselves out of the business so they're not stuck in it. Was there a key moment when you learned that? Was that something that's kind of always been with you, or
I've always known I'm not very good at anything. So no. So for me, it was actually if you run back through my history, started a company when I was in my late teens, early 20s, that I essentially fed it by sprinting revenue into it. Like I would just throw in, and that one had too high of a head count as well. It was called Moore Enterprise Solutions, just like my last name. I'm sorry.
So I have no idea what they did. But what does that mean, sprinting revenue? Because I'd love to do that. How do you sprint revenue into your company?
You shove revenue in the door faster than you can deliver it. And that is exactly what I did. And what that leads to is a lack of referrals and renewals. So
because you can't fulfill on the work that you get in the door.
It's like, shoving revenues into a company too quickly is exactly the same as borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. Like if you don't have, which is so funny because it contradicts what I'm saying, which is the head count. So I'd say actually the issue with my first company was actually a lack of process. And due to that lack of process, we were inefficient. So we had a big head count and we should have been able to deliver the revenue, but we didn't have the execution and process in the company to actually deliver efficiently. So I would just have to feed it more and more and more contracts. Now, mind you, I'm still friends with a lot of the clients from back then, and they would say that we did a good job, not a great job. But a great job is what gets you referrals and renewals, and a good job does not.
Yeah.
You want to do a great job.
So you must have been good at sales, though.
Took me a long time to realize that, John. I thought I was a builder. I thought I was good at bringing products to market. Turns out, and you might enjoy this quick little aside. My first company, again, I was very young, and what we did is IT. That was back when there were BlackBerry servers. So one of the things we did is install BlackBerry servers, and I'm kind of a geek, so I do nerdy geek stuff, which marketing is actually highly analytical, as most marketers know, and most non-marketers don't. But I remember I'd gone to pitch this company, and I got there a little early, and the receptionist puts me into the conference room. And she goes, "Cool, just wait here. Can I get you water?" I'm like, "I'd love one." So I'm drinking my water. And like, I'm waiting for the prospective client to come into the room. And they're not there. It's 5 minutes behind, 10 minutes behind. Finally, she peeks her head in again, and she goes, "Hey, do you know where your boss is? Like, because as soon as he gets here, I'll bring in the partners so you guys can talk." And I was just like, "Oh, I'm the founder."
They thought you were a little young. You must have grown out the beard immediately after that.
I couldn't at that time, John. I was real young, but I'll never forget that moment.
Man, that's hard to go into a pitch after that. Jeez.
Oh, I closed them. They were a great client.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Wow, nothing like getting knocked on your hind legs and then recovering and closing the sale. That's awesome. So
I've been focused on value, John. Like, you got to focus on that, but I've never been great at being the one who delivers it, if that makes sense.
It's great self-awareness. So you grew up, in your words, the child of hippies, and you moved around the country. I moved around the country every 3 years or so when I was growing up, and I thought that was bad. You were like every year to year and a half. Tell us a little about what that was like.
Yeah, so my parents are, I would say, entrepreneurs. They ran a couple of companies. When I think they shuttered one, it was a health care clinic in Vienna, Virginia, back when just the year I was born, back in '85. And then since then, my father was very heavy in diet, nutrition, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to say that we moved around on communes, but it was like kind of close. They were just always seeking to find a place where they could put their roots down and help people. So I moved from Florida to Ohio to Montana, back to Ohio, just all around. And yeah, it was 13 times by the time I was 15, I think. And
Wow.
it actually helped me a lot because they really just wanted to help the world. And they're still around over in West Virginia. I'm going to see them in a week or two here for Christmas, whenever that is. I know it's coming. They just wanted to help the world. I grew up vegan, was homeschooled, wanted to make the world a better place. And so one of the things that inspired me to actually build companies and learn how to do the stuff I do today is because they tried so desperately to make some change in the world. And they never really they never hit the sweet spot on how to drive a major difference. So I've kind of dedicated myself to doing that in their stead, to figure out how to, build companies that matter, build companies that drive value. And I guess, John, this will be the first time I ever say this on a podcast, but my real goal and mission in life is that I want to build all these profitable companies to be able to deploy at least $1 billion of capital back into the world to make it better. And I don't exactly know what that looks like yet, but I'm going to make it so I can not give it away per se. That's not, but rather put it to work to do things that change the world, because it's what I grew up watching my parents trying to do. And they would agree with me here, by the way. I'm sure my mom will listen to this, but they never really quite figured it out. So I'm on the mission to help figure it out, if that makes sense.
What about for you? There's some children of entrepreneurs, if their parents were not wildly successful as entrepreneurs, that they run the other direction. At what point did you know that you wanted to start companies, build companies like your parents had, but maybe stand on their shoulders and take a little further than they did themselves?
It's been a long series of fortunate events, to be honest. So when I decided that when I was around 15, that I was going to hunt to figure out how to make some change. Remember, I was homeschooled. Like, I didn't know anything about anything. I've read a lot of books. I've read every book. So
was it from a book? I mean, it probably wasn't a teacher at school then. What was it that inspired you?
Well, what inspired me is that I just really wanted to figure out how to make change, some change. But again, growing up, knowing nothing, I just figured the way I do that is go get a job. So I guess this isn't a dirty secret, but what I actually ended up doing is moving to DC and working as a bartender. I was like, okay, step one, get money. I'm still on step one, to be honest. So,
well, that's always step one. Yeah, right.
Step one. I'm still on step one. I just need a B, right?
So you start working as a bartender.
But I did private events. So I worked at catering companies. I cleaned carpets was another job. I didn't like that so much, but I kind of joke, and this is not a joke, this is true. The carpets I used to clean as a teenager, those people invite me to their house now to go to their fancy parties. So what essentially happened, I had every odd job in the world, and one of them was at a catering company. I grew up with computers, and I'm very good at computers. I do computer stuff real good, and also CRMs. I got the opportunity to help this catering company with their CRM and with their computers. And I called my older brother, and who's an even bigger geek than I am. He's actually in the Entrepreneurial Organization Accelerator in Columbus, Ohio, running a company called Gamma Force. Will probably not be in the accelerator for much longer. He's got a tip.
Nice.
And hit his. For those who don't know, to join the Entrepreneurs Organization from the accelerator, you have to hit $1 million in annual recurring revenue, and he's not far off because he's doing great work. But so I called them and I was like at probably 17 or 18, maybe 19. I go, hey man, they want to help me. They want me to help with computer stuff. I'm good at some of this. You're good at all of it. You mind helping me? And he goes, yeah, order these 12 books. I'm good at reading. So I read all the books, and they ended up offering me a job as their IT director when I was a kid, making a great deal of money compared to bartending and cleaning carpets, and working in warehouses at catering kitchens. And so I took the job and I parlayed that into, a lot of other people asked for computer help, and I parlayed that into my first company just because I wanted to help other people. Like they were like, what about my computers and my CRMs and my servers? And I was like, let me figure out how to help you too. And that the
one thing leads to another. Yeah. Yeah. What point did you learn about the world of agencies and decide to start an agency then? Because that's kind of going down a different direction.
That is such an awesome question. Okay. So back in the day when there were BlackBerry servers, when there was a guy in your office who was fixing the server or your laptop, what you saw was guy with computer. And so guy with computer knows how to build things inside of the computer, like websites, right?
Yeah.
It's a computer guy.
Right. So I was just talking with someone else about this the other day, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, computer guy did all that stuff, including digital marketing, right?
Yep.
It wasn't as siloed as it is now.
Yep. So I make fun of my mom and dad by calling them hippies, but they put together a pretty amazing curriculum for me when I was homeschooled. And part of that included brand design and programming. So I actually knew personally how to design. When I was 15, I used to design websites for free just to get experience. And so later on, one of my larger law firm clients at my IT company asked me if I would build their website. I was like, no, I don't do that. Then they asked me again, and then I asked them what their budget was, which led to a yes.
An important lesson. Ask the budget first.
Budget, yes. It was in that order. I go, no. What's your budget? Yes.
Oh, yes. It's a yes.
That's a yes. But I was smart enough. Not smart. I'm still not smart, but I was smart enough then to know that I was running a company. So I pulled in a programmer on a freelance basis, and I pulled in a designer on a freelance basis, and I built them a website. It was great. And I was like, I like this a lot more. So what ended up happening is over the next couple of years, I started doing more and more of that marketing work, a lot of web, light advertising, a lot of design. I love design. I love it. I love it. And what ultimately occurred is the cloud started to eat my IT company. So I wish I could say I sold it at a huge multiple, but instead I kind of just wound it down. And started a very lightweight digital agency that focused on the marketing side of things. And I loved that work. What was cool is that I did a lot of work for just through my the nature of my network. I ended up doing a lot of work for the Edelmans, the Burson Marstellers.
So bigger agencies and PR firms. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like the one they gave the work they didn't want. And that was great. Or when their team botched a project, which was often not because I was special or unique or great, but rather because it was illegal at that time in the market to not pretend that you have a digital unit at your PR company. So they all pretended, then they got the work, and then they were like, we don't know how to do this. It's changed a lot, meaning that either they do today have the digital unit, or they don't pretend they do.
Got it.
Wiser.
Yeah. And so you're kind of morphing the business, kind of evolving, moving into digital marketing. It was actually just to reflect for a second here on something you said. So we were talking earlier about the difference between working in your business and on your business, but you just acknowledged the thing that you love design. So it seems like when you got to the world of marketing, a digital agency, there were pieces that you loved, but you still have had the presence of mind to bring in operators. So I guess I need to get to a question here, but how do you figure out what amount you'll allow yourself to indulge in the pieces that you really do love, even if perhaps that's something that could be handled by a team?
So I have to finish the very fast story because it answers your question.
Okay.
So that shop never got very big because I didn't really know what I was doing. There was something similar to my first company. I was good at closing business.
Yeah, that helps.
When all of a sudden you have 4 websites going all at the same time, a little harder for me. So I wasn't great at that. I was just not good at it. I could bring 4. You'd be like, you need 4. You need 4? I got you. They're coming. Now, what ended up happening with that shop is first, I couldn't figure out how to scale it. Second, I finally got curious enough to want to solve the answer to why is it that the people I'm working for, the big PR companies, can sell my work for 3 to 5 times what I'm charging them. I wanted answers. So I ended up getting a call from one of my old IT clients, which was McBee Strategic, and they said, we need some IT help. And I said, I don't do that now. I'm a marketer now. And I have this marketing company. And they were like, look, man, can you just come help us transition IT directors? I was like, okay. And then what I ended up doing is one of the most brilliant things I've ever done in my life. I went in to help part-time as their IT director. And then I lobbied all of the EVPs at this PR company to insource their outgoing creative web ad work if I would move in there full time and help them build a digital unit. And so I got all of them to say yes. I think there were like 6 or 7 of them. And then I went and pitched the COO. Again, my whole life is just like falling upstairs or down, sometimes both at the same time. Somehow I made this deal happen. I'll get back to that. I'll get back to deals, sales and deals. They said yes. I went in and I figured out, they taught me, trained me. They were kind to me to teach me how they were selling the work I was doing on the digital side at 3 to 5 times what they were paying my little freelance shop ragtag group of hooligans. That was amazing. That was so kind of them. I was just at a party with them. They invite me to their holiday party, which is so nice. But so I learned how to sell bigger agency work inside of that group. But what I didn't, I guarantee you, I did not learn how to scale a company. But I loved working there. But what I really wanted to get back into is building my own units. And here's the answer to your question, John. I met a guy who had scaled and sold a company, and he wanted to start a company that existed to build companies. And that was Model B. And I signed up. I pitched him. He pitched me. He said he wants to build this shop that does back office, accounting, maybe some other stuff with the purpose of building companies. And I was like, that sounds amazing. But you know what sells, my man? Marketing. And I know how to sell marketing. So if you want to build a company with cash flow, you got to put marketing in it, which means that we should probably work together. And that was Ashtan Moore. I just saw him a couple hours ago. We are now 5.9-year partners at Model B. And we recruited a finance guy. We also recruited a sales guy. And that the sales guy, the 4th partner, is the one who's no longer with us. But at that point, you'll notice what I did to answer your question is I wanted to build a company, but I'd failed at scaling enough times to know that I'm not good at operations, scale, or finance. So I partnered up with those co-founders. And that's why, today we had a great profitable month, and month, who knows what. We have somewhere in between 20 and 30 employees. Teammates, I like to call them. I really don't like the E word. And we have a bunch of happy clients. And we have a path to, I hope, IPO because we built a tech product. So see, the real lesson there, John, is I've realized at that point that I wanted to build a thing, but I'd not been successful in building my own things enough time to know where I was weak. And so I jumped at the chance of working with other people who were better at it than me because I could identify where I was not good because I'd failed enough times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the valuable lesson. We're running a little short on time, but I want to ask you, we're recording this in very end of 2021. Everyone's talking about the great resignation. Everyone's talking about rising labor costs. How is that affecting the businesses that you're involved in and across the marketplace? What are you seeing these days?
There are two things that we're really focused on right now. I feel like, we interview a lot of people. We get a lot of salary ranges. I feel like they've gone up a lot, especially in marketing land lately. There are really only two choices there. It's either charge your clients more or take a lower margin. And I do feel like business owners, founders do deserve to take a margin home that's at least reasonable. And so we're having a lot of hard conversations with clients about upping our rates. And that's a real thing. And we're also having a lot of hard conversations internally inside of the company to figure out where we can cut the chaff. And I don't mean the staff. I mean what we do for clients. It's like, where do we not need to do that work so that we can raise our focus on the things that either grow the top line revenues or save the bottom line. And it is a balance, my man. You have to figure out in what areas you can drive more value and what areas you can charge clients more. Because ultimately, every great company drives value to all of its stakeholders. And if the market demands that much money to have that level of talent from your teammates, then you have to demand that amount of commensurate money back from your clients so that you have a thing that also drives money to the stakeholders. So it is a delicate game of cards right now.
Sure is. Yeah. Yeah. In a moving target, with a lot of different elements changing right now. I also want to ask about EO. You and I both joined EO this year, Entrepreneurs Organization. What impact has that had for you joining that community of other founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs?
A simple answer, John. I asked them how I can become a recruiter for them. And they call it a membership committee member, I think is what I am. So now I help them. I volunteer for EO to help spread the good word. The reason why is because I've never been in rooms full of other founders before, and it all turns out they all have the same problems as me. And it all turns out that they're willing to share their experiences around what got them out of the holes they dug for themselves. So you're looking to join EODC, please call me. They don't pay me to say that, but rather if I had a time machine, I would do only one thing. I would go back in time to make little me join EO. So there would be a whole lot less pain in my life.
Or even accelerator before that for the,
I wish,
the feeder program into EO.
Well, good news, John. I also joined the membership committee for the accelerator program. So at whatever tier you're at or whatever. And I also, because of who I am as a person, I'm always happy to sit with people who aren't at the 250,000 revenue mark to join the accelerator program. And I'll just sit down and walk them through ways to, potentially scale their companies.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I wish somebody had done that for me, John.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying my life was amazing. I'm so glad I experienced everything I did. But when I learned about EO, I was like, we got to get more people in this.
Oh yeah, it's a great community. Well, I want to wrap things up because we're about out of time here. I'm a big fan of gratitude, and if you look around at your peers and contemporaries, you've mentioned some here, but however you want to define that, could be others in your industry. Who do you admire? Who do you respect? Who would you want to acknowledge publicly who's helped you along in your journey?
I'm going to cop out on this question, John, and say that I appreciate the founders who get up every day and go at it again. I mean, I could think about 1,000 people. It takes a city to help me build, not a village. Everybody from my co-founders to my teammates to our clients, goodness gracious. I always say to the clients, thank you for being a part of our world. But today we're going to thank the founders because the people who get up every day with the potential to lose it all, who provide the jobs to the world, who just keep going at it and trying again and again, even when they fail. I admire that so much. And I just want to say to all of them, first of all, I'm happy to have a beer if you're having a down day. But second of all, thank you for building the world that we have today and building the new products, the new services, the things that, protect the borders and grow our companies and protect our bottom lines. I mean, that's a very big deal.
Yeah.
And John, you're one of them. So thank you. And
thank you. But
today.
I'm not going to let you off that easy. I'm going to steal an EO strategy and I'm going to ask, and who else? There's got to be someone else. I got to mention somebody. Give me one or two names.
Oh, I'm going to plug Jamie Kopp, who's the executive director here at EODC, who held my hand and walked me into the organization. And I know this is like not an EO podcast, but seriously, if you want info on it, give me a call. And, let's go ahead and thank my older brother, who I mentioned before, because he has dealt with me. I remember just last year, I was like, it's not about the mission. It's about profitability, blah, blah. And then our profitability dipped. And he was just like, I told you it's about the mission, my man. Like, you gotta do that and be a great leader. And I was like, okay. You put up with my nonsense. Since I was a little kid, you helped coach me. We'll make it sentimental, John. You helped coach me into my first job as an IT director for the catering company. And you got me that stack of 12 books. Pretty sure I've read all of them but one. The one I didn't read was about SQL, and I didn't want that in my life. No, nobody does. So thank you. One or more, the founder of Gamma Force and a nonprofit or two. Thank you. So Jamie Kopp, one or more, you guys helped build me, and I hope I can help you back someday in any way that I can.
Awesome. Ashtan, this has been a lot of fun. Where can people go to learn more about you, connect with you, learn about your companies?
Oh, I am so easy. ASHTAN MOORE is where I am everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, not TikTok, because while people are trying to get me on the TikTok, I'm trying to not get on the TikTok. Or at gmail.com. It all works. And I'd seriously love to, if you're a founder struggling, love to grab a beer. If you need marketing advice as a CMO, you're probably smarter than me, but I'd love to help. If you have an idea that you maybe want to take to market, that you're afraid to leap, all of those are reasons to call me. I'm always here. And if you need finance help, I'm just going to introduce you to my co-founder, Dan Bender. He'll tell you what to do.
Excellent. Ashtan, thanks so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast with John Corcoran. Find out more at smartbusinessrevolution.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list and join the revolution. Revolution. And be listening for the next episode of the Smart Business Revolution podcast.